All right. Hello, and welcome to the Coach's Corner. We've got a live conversation going on here about how cold it is everywhere. So we're not going to be talking about that today. We're going to talk to you about what's going on in the Endurance Lab today. And we want to thank everybody for joining us. And we are going to be talking live with all the coaches today. Everyone is healthy and here. I'm very happy to have everyone. We're going to recap the week and answer your questions from the forum. My name's Jason Flores, one of your Endurance Lab coaches. And today I'm joined by Taya Friestead, Ian Murring, Mitch Stengerman, and our nutritional therapist, Vera Cullen. A quick reminder to everybody, we are live on several different platforms, so make sure you get on and you have a chance to be part of this show. So jump on live so you can part on the show. And if you listen to the audio, don't forget to click subscribe. Good morning, everybody. That was a mouthful. Yeah, we'll get this shared out to everybody. I know we've got lots to cover today. Today's topic is group rides, eggs, collagen, and calorie cutting. We're going to start out with a quick roundtable about group rides. I'll pass this on to one of our coaches here. I know this came up in the forum, and then I'll get this shared out to the rest of our partners. Yeah.
Ride pacing, because unless it has a very experienced ride leader, the group is going to chase after the three idiots who can't read, and they want to go off the front at 12 watts a kilo for a 2.5 ride. And so it becomes just basically this constant surge and stop, and then the group gets all strung out. So if you're going to pick a ride, try and look around for a ride that has a really, really experienced group leader and has a long history on Zwift, because those rides tend to attract the same people over and over, and those people tend to understand how the ride goes, and they don't chase the flyers.
Exactly. The other thing to keep in mind too is, as a woman rider, you might have to ride a little bit harder to keep up with a group of men. And that again comes down to the way the algorithm works. Typically, your male rider is heavier, and as a lighter rider, smaller rider, you're going to have to put down more power to keep up with the group. So the leader might be doing 2.0 watts per kilogram. You might have to be doing 2.5 even to keep up.
Yeah, I find that a huge problem, actually. It gets quite stressful because I'm much lighter and I'm always trying to chase. And then if you lapse in a second of focus and you're at the back, like trying to do 5 watts per kilo to catch everyone isn't fun. So I tend to have to pick my rides. If it's going to be like your long, steady one and you want to do it in a group, I'll try and pick my ride slightly under so that I'll still be working relative to everybody else. But generally, everyone is going harder than a lot of the groups are described, I find. And I can see how people get frustrated with that. Like Ian said, you need an experienced group that understand that the ride is your long, steady state or whatever, and that trying to do a 2-hour tempo threshold is just stupid.
So is there a way to figure out what a good ride is or a good ride leader?
Well, look for Jason Flores or Mitch.
So what I would say, because there isn't, and there's every once in a while you'll get a survey on a group ride, which I don't know where that data goes.
But, it doesn't go to the group leaders.
The silo.
But this is selfish. I would suggest look for a ODZ ride because I know the leaders. I know they do well. Maybe Pete Donahue with fitness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of those rides I think are real good. I think once you get to the really large, like super large, unwieldy rides, I'm not sure I would do that just because I think that then the group dynamics become even more difficult.
I'll say this: if it's a ride with name your celebrity or a pro, don't do that ride. It will not be anything close to advertised.
Right. But the other thing is, and this is I think a good transition into the topic of group rides outside. The question that came up in our forum from one of the members of the Endurance Lab was, I feel like I crush, when I'm on the trainer. I'm out there doing the workouts and I know I have the power and I'm doing the workouts and I'm strong. But then I went outside and started doing some group rides and I'm having a hard time keeping up with the group. Now, in fairness, she's new to outdoor group rides. This is the first time that she connected with a local club and decided to do some outdoor group rides. And typically these group rides, they are separated by speed. So let's say this is the group that's going to go 16 miles per hour. This is the group that's going to go 19 to 20. This is the fast group, or A, B, C, D, etc. And so as a new rider, I think one of the first things to keep in mind is when you select a group to ride with outside. Yeah. And if you are, even though you might be strong, you're not experienced with group riding dynamics. So you might consider joining a slower group just so you can learn all of the positioning and all of these, the things that come with riding outside that are not only about power. So again, talking about Zwift, you might just be worried about your power to keep up with the group. When you transition to outside, there's so much more to consider. So if you are a strong rider, 3 watts per kilogram, join a slower group just so you can start getting into the dynamics. So maybe if we want to get a little bit more into the tips and things to keep in mind.
I think too often in at least the real life group rides versions of rides, people put themselves too high up in a category and you ride till you get dropped. How often, that you put yourself in that 16 or 18 mile per hour group and you just say, I'm going to hold on a little bit longer this week. And I don't think a lot of times that does a lot of good for people, because obviously it's a negative thing whenever you are, getting off the back of a group. But the other part is you're not able to work on things like the skills that you be able to stay within a group. You're coming out to work in a group setting, to work on a group ride, to learn to draft, to learn to use wheels, to learn to take turns on the front, and to use these different skills that we can't get and you can't use indoors. So it's important for you to, one, have a group. How often do I see, whatever group I'm with, either we leave people behind because of a regroup, or there's people just off the front hammering and this long train of people where I don't come to a group ride to ride by myself. people ask like, oh, like, this person or that person is so strong, you could like easily ride away from other people. I'm like, I spend every morning at 4 o'clock in the morning riding by myself. Like, I want to like be with someone when you go outdoors. So it's one of those things. I feel like people just lose the aspect of why they're outdoors. So it's something that we need to remind our athletes all the time.
Well, yeah, and the big part on that one is if there's different levels, right? And you join the first, unless you know all these people and you know how they ride.
Yeah.
Join the easiest ride first.
Yeah.
And if you're not spending almost all of your time at the front being the workhorse, then it's probably not the time to upgrade to the next level group.
Yeah.
And we same thing for running groups and things like that. But if you're able to sit at the front and do all the pulling for most of it, and you don't miss any turns, and you're helping coordinate the group, and you're able to go back and drag people up, okay, then you can look at moving up. And you're going to have that period of you're barely hanging on. But if you're bumping up to that next group, you shouldn't be getting shot out the back in the first third.
Yeah.
You should be able to make it halfway to 2/3 of the way through. And then it's a matter of now I'm closing the gap. So I'm getting dropped 80% through, and I'm getting dropped 90% through. Okay, now I barely hung on. Okay, now I'm hanging on.
So,
and then I'm working.
Can we take one step back? So for the folks who maybe are new to cycling, don't know where to go to even find that group ride, how do they find the local group ride for, like Oakland County, Michigan, or Wheaton, Illinois, or wherever?
I think a good place to start is your local bike shop. You drop in and say hi and let them know, hey, I'm looking to meet other riders and where they ride from. And I'm sure the local bike ride, or you could just sit at the coffee shop and wait for cyclists to come.
That's true.
Sit at a coffee shop other than Starbucks, and then they will come.
You can also look on Strava heat maps too to see where there's rides taking place, and then kind of go out and ride those. You can get on Tinder.
Yeah.
You can?
So some of the things as you go out in the group ride and you select. So let's say you select the group with a slower pace, so you can get the handle of how the dynamics work in the group. Some of the things to work on, some of the basic skills. So you want to stay mid-pack. You don't want to stay all the way off the back. You might think to yourself, I want to be in the back because I don't have, I don't do the work and I'll see how it works. The problem with that, it's harder, exactly, because eventually there's going to be surges, right, in that group. And if you're off the back, then you're going to feel that surge even more. So you're going to be working super hard. So you stay kind of mid-pack. Tell people around you, just say, you know what, hey guys, I'm new. I don't want to be off the front. Can you just rotate and I'll stay around here? Or if you rotate, you take very short pulls. And if you take a short pull, as you come out of the pull, you don't deaccelerate. You maintain your speed. Don't accelerate either, because then you're surging the group. So you just keep maintaining that speed and slowly transition to, the side that you're rotating off of. So let's say the left. And then you stay close to the group coming down. As you're coming back and you are towards the end of the group, start getting yourself back. Don't wait until you see the last one in the group ride past you to get on, because then you're going to have to do a big surge to get on and back again.
Yeah, it's like merging in a car.
Yeah. And likewise, if you can identify the fastest or some of the faster riders in that group, don't stay in front of them either. Because what happens then is, as soon as you rotate off, that fast rider is going to accelerate. And now you just have to jump even harder to get back in the group once you come back from the rotation.
There's always people in a group ride that want to always be at the front. Let them be at the front and take the wheels.
They'll do all the pulling.
We'll do all the pulling, and you can get plenty of workout the whole ride because they just want to be at the front and just show that they can pull for an hour, and it's silly.
Well, and the other part is, don't think just because you're not pulling that you're not working.
No, exactly.
Stronger, faster riders, you're working to stay on their wheel.
Yeah.
So, one of the other things to say is that, so when you're in this group, you have got to be relaxed.
Mm.
You have got to just be chilled out, because if you're white knuckled on the bar, you're creating a couple things. One, that's stress. So if you're super nervous and you're stressed and just pegged out on your fun meter, You are not going to be able to respond correctly. You're going to be jerky. You're going to be the guy who causes the crash.
Might run into a sign.
Right.
Oh,
exactly.
come on.
You know, you're going to get tunnel visioned on the wheel in front of you and not be paying attention to what's going around you. So try not to be nervous. And you just have to give yourself a little space. You have to concentrate on being relaxed. If you are tensed up, you're not gonna maneuver quickly or correctly. Plus, you're gonna tire quicker because it takes a lot of energy to be nervous and stressed out.
And don't suck Eric Denning's wheel.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was possible because I always thought he was at the back.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's
rule.
I think that's actually a good point. You do need to practice. Again, we're all talking about skills outdoors, like I said, and following wheels, understanding your space between riders, and getting comfortable. I think a lot of times, like I'll train riders who do a lot of ride on their own. They do plenty of miles, but in a group setting, for whatever reason, they can't really keep up, or when things get really tight, they get really nervous and they're backing off. So what you want to do is you want to put a goal for yourself. It's not going to be wattage based. It's going to be like, can I stay within the group? Can I stay behind a wheel for, this many miles or this many minutes? Can I put myself where I'm next to someone shoulder to shoulder and try to have a conversation so that you can kind of feel like how it is when people are closer and get those things comfortable, where, even to the point where on some of our group rides, people pat each other's shoulders. You can, I don't know if people are giving you hugs and group rides you're at.
Yeah, we gave each other hugs.
Yes, this is true.
Holding
hands, things like that. Go ahead.
Also, seek out the ride leader. So I know, like, I'm on it's been like a Yahoo group for over a decade, and I get the emails, and they've got the rides every week advertised. And the BC ride, the leader actually has skills they work on every week. It's like Ian's skills and drills, but in the real world. So talk to the ride leads and see that there may be a ride that they're every week working on a certain skill in a group riding setting.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll add the women's perspective here too. A lot of these rides are, unless you're in an all women's group ride, what happens, and it's been my experience and the experience from my friends, you get into a group ride and somehow the guys like to start the ride going out really hard. Good. So it's just like, go fast. And the group is typically frisky, right? So there's a lot of, yes, let's go out. We're out for the ride. And so my friends and I, we typically just sit off the back and say, okay, for the first 20 minutes or so, we're just going to let them let it all out at first. They'll get it out of the system, right? And they'll settle into a rhythm. And because I don't want to be in the middle of all of that energy and wanting to pull hard at the beginning and going fast at the beginning, I'm thinking to myself, gosh, I'm not even warmed up yet. This is, it's painful. How many times I went through that?
You don't bring your trainer and warm up for the group ride, Taylor? Tisk. Come on.
I should have.
That what you're saying is called RG Bargy.
RG Bargy, I like that. Yes. Early on the rides, everyone's doing RG Bargy.
Yeah, so
sounds like testosterone to me.
Maybe. The other thing
we can't help that.
When you start looking at these group rides, pay attention to what's going on in the group too. Yeah. And you may say, I'm not going to ride with this group anymore because they're racing, and they shouldn't be. When at times it's dangerous, so they're racing through intersections. So you want to don't ride with those guys. Yeah. Stop signs are not optional. That they're sprinting across the road and crossing the lines. You don't want those people because they're dangerous. Or there's two other ones that are for me really, really like just pet peeves. Headphones. If people in the group are wearing headphones, don't either tell them to take them off or don't ride with that group.
I thought you said headbutts. That's a very advanced move for a group ride.
Yeah, that's only in the town sprint. So just don't mix it up in that. But seriously, people wearing headphones in a ride, those are the people you push off the road. Just don't actually push people off the road. And then the other one is, and this is near and dear to my heart, they're triathletes usually. If they're in a group ride and they get in their aero bars, you are legally allowed to punch them, I think. But
punch them in the
but that's one of the things. So if you are a triathlete, unless you're a professional rider or a very experienced team time trialist, or you're from Miami, because in Miami they draft that all the time and try races. But if you're not that, then you don't need to be in your aero bars when you're on someone's wheel. In fact, if you're not on the front, you shouldn't be in aero bars. And I even recommend for most triathletes, if you're going to do group rides, bring a road bike.
Yeah, bring your road bike.
Yeah, that makes the most sense.
Have one bike, just face it, unless you're on the front, you're front or off the back. If you're off the back and you're given space, that's fine too. But you cannot be in the pack in your aero bars.
I mean, if you show up with a tri bike at most group rides, are they even gonna? I mean,
a lot of times it's poo-pooed for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get it. There's gonna be a lot of, especially dudes out there, the triathlete guys, who are gonna be like, "No, man, I'm good. I know how to handle my bike real well. I mean, I watched like the team time trial and Tour de France like 12 times in the last 2 weeks. I'm good." You're not.
All right.
Oh, not.
So we've got some really good tips for beginner riders or people that are just new to riding. Maybe we could switch gears a little bit to more experienced riders and what kind of things they should like keep in perspective or keep in their mind of what they can get out of a group ride.
So some
James
advantages.
Guy is not there watching you. Not recruiting you.
So group rides is a little bit like racing in Zwift, I guess, in that a lot of people see group rides as training, and going out there and I'm gonna go out in this group ride, and I always get completely trashed. My legs fall off. I am super tired. Therefore, I just had a really good training session.
It's like and like a Zwift ride is actually
right.
a Zwift race is actually training. So
yeah. So the thing is, group rides are not training rides. They are group rides. So you have you're either going out because you want to socialize with people and you're in the group that you like to hang out with people, or you're out there trying to, and this is how you should think of them, execute the things that you practice in training.
Yes.
So you're not going to be racing every week all year long, hopefully. So you do your intervals in your workouts, and then you say, you know what, that 1 minute that I did standing at VO2 or whatever, I'm going to test this out, and I'm going to see if I can, do it in the group. Now, it depends on what kind of ride you're in, right? So some group rides, they'll have a section where everybody sprints, or they'll say, okay, we're going to go as hard as we can up the hill and we'll regroup at the top. So when you have those things within the group ride, you can then put your intervals to the test and see how you execute. Or, if you practice surging, then catching up with the group, etc. So that's how you should see the group rides. But they are not training. They should not occupy on the calendar, on your training calendar, your training plan. The group rides should not be counted as workouts or training sessions.
Yeah, and the other thing too is it's great to practice tactics.
Yes.
So you start to get to know the people in the group of who's strong, who's not. So you can start saying, okay, he's going up the road on this attack because the town line sprints, 800 meters away. Let's give him a 10-second buffer where he's going, and then let's chase him down and see if I can bridge and then come over the top.
Yes.
Or okay, I need to be paying attention. I need to move myself up front because I know we have the a hard effort coming up here. So I want to work on my positioning to make sure I'm able to do what I need to do when it comes to these time to execute. So it's a time to really work on those skills and tactics.
Yes, yeah. And then again, for the lighter riders, after the uphill, if you have a lot of heavier riders or bigger riders going downhill, you better be well positioned because otherwise, they'll just leave you in the dust on that downhill.
Yeah, you can practice your choice of line and your arrow position.
Yeah.
You should see, like, Ian can wrap himself around the top tube, and it's like he's not even there going downhill. It's pretty amazing. It was pretty amazing coming down Baldy.
Yeah. So and then again, pay attention to the type of group rides that you're in, and if you want to go, some group rides are always the same. They're always the same. Same people, same route, same pace, exactly the same. And that's okay if you want to do that. Just don't turn that into your training, and don't let that take the place of a lot of your training. So if you're doing 1 or 2 workouts a week and everything else is group rides, and you ride a lot, so you might not see a lot of improvement because you're doing a lot of the same things over and over.
Right. Doing the same things makes you good at doing the same things, right?
Right.
So I think it's important. Recently I got a chance to ride our team espresso lap, And I was like, oh, it's pretty easy. You know, Carrie's talking about doing 2.2 or 2.5 steady on Mitch's ride and then an espresso lap. And I said, oh, it can't be too bad, right? This isn't a full out Zwift race. I came out with 0.9 intensity with a good amount of work. I mean, it was, oh no, Ian was there, remember? We were doing laps and I was like, okay, you know, staying off the back, we're being smart. We had 2 riders that went off the front. We were going to make everyone else pull. Ian was making sure that we weren't doing work for other people. And I came out with a point that was obnoxious. I was like, I can't even ride Sunday because it's silly, like to have to ride again. And if we have athletes that wanting to do this 2 or 3 times a week, you have no quality other than this high end. And really it was this weird middle ground. Like we weren't really going super hard because we weren't chasing, but you have this huge, you know, anaerobic 1 or 2 big efforts because there were some hills, and that was it. And I just feel like you can get so much more. So that's important for these group rides to remember. Again, go ahead.
Yeah, and the other part too is what we experienced because it was the flatter route with a couple little kicks to it.
Mm-hmm.
We were doing a lot of surging, and then we as soon as we get to the front, we'd slow the pace.
Yeah.
So we were doing hard VO2, you know, max effort, and then slow down, and max effort and slow down, and it was just that's not great for training unless you're specifically trying to train that, and you can't do that more than once a week.
And here's the thing: you're like, wait, that's a VO2 interval. But if you look at our actual numbers, every interval was less power because the gap in between was not enough recovery for us to be able to. So what happens is this now becomes not a VO2 or an anaerobic effort. It becomes an aerobic effort. And who has the longest aerobic engine? Because the fact that if you watch every single time we went up, it was less and less power as we went up. So they weren't quality intervals by any means. It was just as much as you can put out and then recover aerobically and then do it again. And none of us, I'm sure, because we were all sitting on the front, were able to continue to put out the same power we were the first time. So something to keep in mind.
Yeah, the sprint at the end was ridiculously poor.
Oh, easy.
It was. No one put out huge sprint numbers because we were all just crushed.
Yeah. So okay, so we've got, you know, learning group dynamics, positioning. We've got some execution and making sure that this is an understanding. This is not a simulation for a race. Excuse me. Your group rides are not races. If you want to race, you got to put a number on. You got to go out there. You got to put yourself out there. If you're coming to your group rides and thinking it is a race, there's going to be a couple people that are going to, but I don't think it's going to be a place where you can really tell yourself like this is how, you know, gauge yourself. So it's important to do that. Go practice your skills. You know, set some goals, set some process goals. What you want to get done on that day. And get those things. Outcome goals come later on different things, you know, where you put yourself and you want a time, you want a position. These are process goals. Getting the training in, learning the skills.
So are you saying that as cyclists or triathletes, you need to be prepared to do some training on your own if you want the quality? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's also okay if you don't like group rides. Just because 95% of the cycling population likes to ride in a group doesn't mean you have to like to ride in a group either.
Yeah. And you know, and one last thing about you know, finding the ride leader, like Mitch said, sometimes like there's a group ride that we do that only for whatever reason they say they have 2, but a lot of times it all ends up being 1 group ride. If you're feeling like, you know, like I usually pull Rylan on one of the group rides and I'll be like, hey, we're gonna do the shorter route. If you guys want to roll with us, let's roll. And when people have an out, they're like, oh, we don't have to go and like chase the A group. All of a sudden, the second ride becomes bigger than the front ride because nobody wants to chase people on the front third of this because the guys are on the front are pushing. All of a sudden, Rylan's got all these people to talk to on the ride because people are like, oh, we're going to take a ride on the street. And we wait for a moment and everyone has an out and then everyone has a good time because we're not, you know, we're chasing the guy with the trailer. That's all we're doing.
So in closing, I think you said the most important thing there, Jason. Right? Training right here. Yeah. It's hard. It can be miserable. It's work.
Yes.
You know, group ride, work on your skills, but have fun.
Yeah.
Right? You're out with people. Yeah. You should be having a conversation. You should be smiling. You should be enjoying the weather. You're not in your basement.
Yeah.
It's not winter anymore. It's not minus 35-degree wind chill.
Yeah.
Get outside, have some fun and social.
Yeah. Don't be that guy that shows up to training camp and you're off the front at every ride. You're there
Hashtag.
Wagner. Well, hey. It could be several.
Sorry.
It could be several. Anyways.
He's up. He ought to be watching because I just got a Facebook Messenger thing from him. So I don't know where he is, but he's awake.
All right. So we're going to shift gears here. We're doing some great time. We wanted to talk a little bit about as we transition kind of from off-season, I don't want to say off-season, but more like winter season training to more pre-season training, we like to call, because we do want to make sure that we are continuously building on our work indoors and our skills, making sure that we're fueling for these workouts. We talk about this all the time, but specifically making sure you're not what we call like burning the candle on both ends. And this is the time, the season where it could be very easily, you can be trying to cut calories as well as trying to like increase intensity. If you got any look at the preseason lab that we've put together, the numbers go up pretty quickly. Taya must have been really ambitious, and the numbers look really strong. The workouts go back to back and really, really charge you to get this base in. A lot of times, it's kind of wishy-washy early on. You're kind of just doing what feels good. But I think if you want to set the foundation time is now. You want to get this base in. You want to get that, sub-threshold work in so that you're able to use that and just do the higher efforts later. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, riders trying to manage their weight and increasing their intensity. So kind of what we have there.
Is that thrown at me?
A little bit.
Yes, that would be thrown at you.
We'll start with you there, and just talking about ramping up intensity and just a reminder of what we can do, because there's things that we can do, because you can still reach those goals without completely cutting yourself out of it and not having energy. We don't want to be that in that respect, right?
Yeah, you have to think about the fact that the food that you eat is to support all of the functions in your body, and if you want to maintain good quality training and improvements, and stay healthy, you can't overly cut your calories in this drastic measure to lose weight really, really quickly. It's not going to work. You're either going to lose weight really quickly and not get better at your training, or you're going to, what's more important? It's feeling good, training strong, following the program, so that ultimately you're racing really well. So you need to give yourself a realistic weight loss goal and change what you've been doing if you're not losing weight a little bit to encourage weight loss, but also understand that perhaps on difficult training weeks, you may have to fuel those better. So the weight loss might stall a little bit to maybe 1 pound. And then on other weeks, you may be able to cut back just that little bit more. So maybe you get 2 pounds so you're not going to have consistently the same weight drop every week. Also consider that you're going to be, if you're training and nourishing yourself right, gaining some power, and that equals strength, equals muscle weight. So that's going to complicate the equation somewhat too. Now, getting body composition done where you know what your percentage lean muscle is and how that's changing may be more helpful to you than just the scales, because power to weight ratio is ultimately what you're striving for. So I know, and Justin put up a great article on losing weight and keeping lean on the forum. I think it was the Data Driven Athlete, and it's a very good article. But I think if we expect things to kind of follow this line of progression, we may be disappointed. Just understand that there's going to be a little bit of variation, and don't cut it too much. You could end up not supporting your immune system, getting coughs, colds, sick, run down. I think our bone and ligament repair tends to happen in cycles. So if we're cutting too strictly, we might have a week where we could be more at risk of injury. So just to do it patiently and consistently and try to keep things more on a level. And I think as we become more balanced in our relationship with exercise and diet, we tend to have less extremes of massive weight gain and drastic weight loss. And so that perhaps with each season, with experience and with being kind to yourself, you're sort of not trying to drop quite as much, if that makes sense as well. I don't know, is that sort of resonating with what you see? Has anyone done a drastic weight drop and ended up sick or injured?
So what I'm hearing you say, though, is that running a calorie deficit during training and even intense training is fine, but you've got to fuel your workouts. Yeah. Where do you plug that calorie deficit in, say, in my day or my week?
Not around training, unless it's that one session a week you want to do fasted, but the purpose of the session is different. It's not, yay, I'm going for a huge calorie drop here. It's more that you're trying to do a fat adapted session. So if you're serious about it, and this is actually what I do for athletes, I will look at their week ahead of the week, and I will look at their Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I will look at it all in context, and I will say, okay, this is the purpose of this training session here. This is how you need to fuel it before and after, and then we'll do this either side of it, morning and evening, and I'll guide them through each day of the week. So you sort of need to stand back and look at it. What am I trying to achieve here? How do I need to fuel this session? And then if there's a calorie deficit, it sort of needs to happen at farther ends of the day, unless, for example, it's Friday evening and you've a really long bike Saturday morning, or you might have an event, then you want to put in slightly more carbohydrate to prepare for recovery. If that's your thing, with a salad, then you've got what you need. And beets on your salad.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's called a Greek salad. It's really good.
So yeah, it does take a little bit of thinking. Now, this article, actually, I'll bring you back to it because it was pretty good. There's so it's data-driven athlete, and it's talking about 3 strategies to get lean and stay lean. And he does put it together pretty well in that sort of every day we need to strive for a sort of protein intake goal. And that is a guideline. It can go up slightly or down slightly. Then around this as an athlete, you want to consider your carbohydrate needs for that day. There can be shorter sessions, longer sessions at intensity, longer sessions with less intensity. And we're sort of managing our carbs around that. Then we need to get, good veg in for our antioxidants and things. So it sort of fluctuates, and it's not a straight, you need this amount of protein, you need this amount of carbs, you need this amount of fat. We're sort of constantly leveraging something against the other to ensure that we keep sort of within those calorie requirements. So some days the protein could be the more important, and we might want to drop the fat, keep the carbs. Other days the carbs may be more important. We might want to drop the fat, keep the protein. Other days we might want to get in more fat. It's tough. It fluctuates, yeah. But you're getting it right if you're kind of consistently getting where you want to go.
So I don't need to carry around a T-bone steak with me all day long.
Well, you see the thing, it's so funny because we're all getting fatter. Well, generally, that's the problem in our world. Everyone's getting fatter, and we're being told, you have to get the protein in, you have to get the carbs, you have to get the fat. And then at the same side, they're saying, well, we're all getting fatter and you need to eat less. So I think
work out more, work out more. Eat less, work out more.
As a quick aside, there was an article this week, I think it was in Outside magazine. A guy only ate meat for 30 days.
Yeah, carnivore diet. Oh my gosh, it's nuts.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone read that article.
It's nuts.
The impact it had on his gastrointestinal system.
Yeah, no fiber.
Insane. Yeah. But it was opposite of what you thought it would be.
Yeah.
We love extremes.
I mean, extremes are no good, right? It's called eating a balanced, healthy, kind of a whole diet is probably the best thing.
Yeah. And like you said, we're not going to disappear if we miss our protein feeding. I think we're a bit obsessed on it. It's important, but we're obsessed with it too.
Ian likes protein.
All things work together, right? That's the one thing that I learned in learning more about nutrition and working with Andrea. Everything works together. So the protein needs the veggies. The veggies, they all these foods need one another. All the macros, they sort of need one another because they're and closest to their whole to the original source as possible. So the whole food itself, as it's found in nature, and then you get all the vitamins, the aminos. You get all of it together that works in balance with your body. So if you're tilting the scale only for a lot of protein and you're missing on the fiber, you're missing on the vegetables, then you're going to have a problem. If you're doing the other way, you're going all in with the carbs and only vegetables and none of the protein, then you're having all the other kind of problem. And also, if you're not fueling properly for your workouts, like Andrea said, you look at your week, you see what you're going to be doing, and you fuel properly for those, you're not going to be getting any adaptation from your training. You're just not. You're wasting your time on a trainer.
No, and you know right away when you start hitting some of your key workouts, if you didn't fuel correctly during the week, you are just going to be dead. I mean, you're going to hit set one and you're going to be like, oh, what am I doing?
Yeah.
You know, so you gotta, I think the hardest part, and one of the things that article brought up, was the ever shifting energy demand based on your workout schedule. And it is important, but I think that's the biggest problem I've seen. Most people, when they're on an off day or a really light day, they just cut back too much.
Yeah.
And honestly, you can't do that. That's your day of recovery. Your body needs energy because your body's consuming energy to repair itself.
Right.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's every time I've done it by accident, you know, where I just got busy on a recovery day and I wasn't able to eat like I would normally eat.
Yeah.
That first workout the next day is just like having someone walk up and stomp my face in.
Right. So I think it's so the key takeaways here are: eat real food for your workouts. Make sure you are fueling in and around your workout. And if you are going for a deficit, go for it away from your workout. So if you're working out in the morning, you're fueling before and after your workout. The rest of the day, you're eating sensibly, real food, you know, fibrous, green, leafy vegetables with beets, Ian's favorite, all day, the rest of the day long, you know, making sure you get those foods in. You don't need,
Poison.
you know, if you're working out in the morning, you're not needing, you know, this huge carb load at lunch, this huge carb load at dinner. You can get it all around your workout, and the rest of the day you can have a more balanced meal throughout. You don't need a heavy load on one end or the other. That could be very useful. So there's a really great conversation happening on the forum. So make sure you head over to discuss.endurancelab.fit. And there are a bunch of athletes there talking about what's going on, as well as data-driven athlete. I know Nate Dunn is also part of our community. Andrea, you had something a moment ago?
We were talking. Oh, yes, but I'll actually add in the final one. We're always going to be hungry until our body gets what it needs. So if you start restricting really important foods that your body's looking for, you're going to be hungry. And appetite isn't related to calories almost. You can overeat and still be hungry because you're not getting in the vitamins, the minerals, all the live goodness that your body's looking for. So that's where, like Thea was pointing out, you need a really wide window of view with getting in everything that you need. Do you want me to touch on eggs, that egg question?
Yeah, I think we have a minute or two. Let's do that. There was go ahead and introduce the topic. I think it's
so. I suppose the question was, can you eat too many eggs?
Yeah.
And are eggs bad for you? And, you know, we've been told for years that cholesterol isn't good for us and we shouldn't eat a lot of eggs. Can we eat too many eggs? Oh, cholesterol's a funny one. If someone comes into me with high cholesterol, I'll look at liver function, gut function, sugar intake. So a probiotic, milk thistle, artichoke, things like that. Quality of their diet, environment, genetics, I look at all of those things. So generally I don't go, you are eating too many eggs. It's the last thing on my mind. But from a different perspective, can you eat too many eggs? Well, I would ask, have you lost the balance with all the other protein sources then? So it may not be that you're eating too many eggs, but are you getting in the fish? Are you getting in your meat? Are you getting in your vegetarian proteins? Someone pointed out cottage cheese, great food for leucine. So sometimes eggs are really, really handy. You know, we can make them into portable muffins. We can have boiled eggs, poached eggs, whatever. They're fantastic. But sometimes just a can of, you know, wild smoked salmon or wild salmon or some smoked salmon or some canned mackerel or sardines can be just as quick and will give us your omegas and a lot of minerals. So just try and get in balance across the week with your various protein sources, I think, is sort of the key. Eggs, you know, if there's one day when you have 4, some none, maybe 3, that's going to be okay too. Eggs are a wonderful food. The cholesterol is very much needed by athletes to support cell membrane health and hormones. So I would be more concerned about the athlete with low cholesterol than I would the athlete with slightly, you know, sitting along the top cholesterol. So I don't think you can eat too many eggs. I would just make sure that you've got your balance and good eggs. So I have props. We eat duck eggs a lot in our house. Love them. And then you're looking at free range, happy hens that have been running around. They're going to have better nutrition and they've had happier lives. So, and you can even go so far as ostrich eggs and all the other types of eggs if you want.
So yeah, definitely food for conversation. So something that a lot of times is the take-home point being vary your sources of protein. You've just got the one, you know, protein itself it's a limiting thing. You can only really, your body will take in only so much. So you will know when you're full of that. And so it's important to get real sources and find different sources is, I think, the take home there. Along with some of our other conversation today, just to kind of wrap up, we're talking a little bit about the difference between indoor and outdoor group rides, as well as what both experienced and new riders to group rides outdoors, and what are the things you can focus on. We also talked about a little bit of how we can balance as we transition into our preseason and you're starting to ramp up your training, and how you can fuel for those and still reach your goals of if you are looking to change your body composition and that sort of thing. And also to learn and to remember to remind ourselves to eat real food and to vary our protein sources. Eggs are great, but definitely vary your sources there. I do want to thank everybody for joining in, the coaches as well, and everybody listening. Linda, Hui, and Carrie was there on our live stream today. But if it's your first time listening and want to hear more, head over to your favorite podcast app, and don't forget to click subscribe for us. And for more information when our next lab is, head over to endurancelab.fit, where you can join us, the coaches, to train smart and get results. We'll see everybody next week. Have a great week. We are